Howzer was introduced less than 2 weeks ago, and he's already become a fan favorite clone trooper. Why? Because his hair looks phenomenal, but also because he was able to hold on to his humanity, compassion, and individuality after the execution of Order 66. Did his chip not work, or did it work and he fought it? We don't know, and it really doesn't matter. All that matters is that he was able to stand up for what's right, and I think his actions could ripple out into not only the rest of the Bad Batch, but the rest of the Star Wars galaxy as a whole. So, during the 2 Ryloth episodes of the series, Howzer was shown as a clone that still had his modified armor, he removed his helmet, he showed some flexibility for the rules when it came to his friends, the Syndulas, he even objected to orders he knew were wrong, which Rampart definitely took notice of. He struggled to reconcile what he knew was right with what he was commanded to do, and we could see that even more clearly in his second episode, Rescue on Ryloth. He eventually warned Clone Force 99 and the Syndulas that they were walking into a trap, and he offered himself up as a diversion so they could make their escape. But his diversion wasn't any kind of heroic, sacrificial last stand, blasters blazing. No, he walked out and he just talked to his brothers, the people he knew were still good men deep down. He pointed out how contradictory their orders under the Empire had become, and shockingly, some of the clones listened to him. I was absolutely not expecting that, despite there being precedent for it. In the Kanan comic, Caleb is able to convince Gray, another clone character we've seen in the series, that his orders to execute the Jedi were wrong, and he's able to shake off the effects of the inhibitor chip and save Caleb's life. It's a great moment in a great comic, and Howzer's moment is a great scene in a great episode. But how could that turn into larger changes for the rest of the series and the Star Wars timeline? On a smaller scale, there is a shot specifically of Hunter looking back at Howzer as he prepares to face the other clones and talk them down. I assume Hunter is taking note of the man's bravery, but also the fact that he is unaffected by his chip, and he has hopes that he can help the rest of his men. Hunter and the Batch have dealt with their chips, and their one real encounter with an activated chip was terrible when Wreckers went off, so he's probably been under this assumption that it's not worth helping the other clones. Maybe he's under the assumption that it's not worth helping Crosshair. He tells Hera in Rescue on Ryloth that it's not worth the risk of saving the Syndulas, and Hera says it's not worth it to him, because they aren't part of his family. But Hunter hasn't even been willing to help out his own brother in Crosshair. He's just written him off. So maybe Howzer's actions could be a catalyst to help Hunter turn around and decide to help not only Crosshair, but more clones fight their inhibitor chips. I've said many times before that I think it would make for a great story, even if I fear it will all end tragically. Because Hunter isn't the only character to notice Howzer and what he did. Crosshair sees him convince clones to lay down their weapons. Rampart will surely now have his suspicions about Howzer confirmed. So now the Empire knows their method of controlling clone troopers isn't foolproof. They already knew they didn't work on Clone Force 99, but they seemed content to accept that it was because of their modifications, and they were able to dial up their control on Crosshair. But now they've seen clones with chips put their weapons down because someone they trust talked to them. The Empire wants these mindless soldiers, but the clones simply are not that. Their individual experiences in the Clone Wars shaped them into loyal soldiers, but not necessarily loyal to the Empire, loyal to each other. Yeah, the chips are twisting that loyalty, but the control can be broken. Rampart was already pushing for clone troopers to be replaced with conscripted or volunteer soldiers. Now they have yet another reason. And by the way, the title for episode 14 of the series is War Mantle, the code name for phasing out clones. So I think they'll be using Howzer to justify taking even more control from Kamino. I hope we see the Kaminoans' reaction to what happened on Ryloth. Maybe they'll try to turn up the inhibitor chips in every clone as like a last-ditch effort. I still think we're headed towards a clone uprising or Kamino uprising or both, but the clone uprising might not be so much them turning to fight against the Empire at first. Maybe clones that break free of Order 66 will just want their freedom. But of course the Empire won't give that willingly, and then it'll turn into a more outright conflict. Who knows how Howzer's actions will ripple out, but the exciting fact is that they can, and probably will. It's such a Star Wars thing to have a relatively minor character, someone we just got to know, who's only been around for 50 minutes of storytelling, be the spark for something greater. Star Wars has always shown that one person can change the course of history, so why not Howzer? Whatever happens in the rest of the series, I think we'll see that his compassion and bravery will have major ramifications for the clone troopers, changing their history, and therefore the Star Wars galaxy's history forever. But that's it for today. Let me know what you think of Howzer and what will happen because of him in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Bad Batch coverage, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we're releasing audio commentaries and video reactions for all these episodes. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.